Oh, excuse me. So, last night, Clay and I watched Dreamworks 4, which is Chicken Run. It is, I don't know what it is. It's like Aardvark and Vark. It's something like that. It's like a specific company or studio. They're the ones that do the Wallace and Gromit movies and shorts. They do... Sorry, there's a leaf that just went smacked on the windshield. It actually kind of spooked me a little bit, because I didn't know where the hell it came from or what it was for a second. But anyways, they do like a lot of stop motion stuff. I know they've done other movies with Dreamworks. I believe Flushed Away is one of theirs. I think I don't know if the Shaun the Sheep movie is a Dreamworks movie. I want to guess it is. I know they have a Wallace and Gromit movie they did as well. But Chicken Run is the first collaboration with that team or that studio. So it is a stop motion movie. And something you may or may not know about me, because I don't think I've ever said it on this channel, I love me some stop motion. It's not, I don't know if I'd say, oh yeah, this is my favorite form of animation or anything, but it's something I always tend to really like the look of. The Nightmare Before Christmas is one of my favorite movies of all time. And knowing the style of, and it's not like I've worked on it before, or I've watched a lot of videos on it or anything, but how it is yeah, you have to painstakingly move every figure for every frame of animation. That's really impressive. It's something, animation always impresses me unless I look at it, I'm like, this is just bad. But assuming it actually works, I'm like, this is something that impresses me that you were able to do this. Stop motion in particular. So I have to give it that shout out. And that's not I have to give it that shout out, but it looks like ass. It's no, I give it the shout out, and I think it looks really good. There's maybe a moment or two where a moment just kind of alright, that was a little janky, but I don't know, 2 or 3 moments out of the entire run of the movie, that is nothing to scoff at. I think it looks very, very good. I think the visuals are the best part of the movie. I feel like you get it's not I can look at a chicken and know exactly what their personality is, but I can pick each chicken, at least the major ones, apart from each other, which to me, I don't know if I've said that, but that's another thing that's very important to me in character design. I don't really care if I can pick this character out by their silhouette. I care if I can, A, get a look at them and have an idea of what they're all about, or these are both very important. The latter one I think is actually more important. If I can look at 2 characters from the same series and identify them. I don't go, oh man, you 2 look really similar. Now, again, if that's an intentional thing, people mistaking Sonic for Shadow, which they look still really different. I always thought that was stupid. Amy's oh, Sonic, I found you, I love you. You're this, you're seeing him in the daylight. This looks nothing like Sonic. What are you talking about? But anyway, I can look at Goku and Vegeta and not think they look really similar to each other. That looks like Goku, that looks like Vegeta. Stuff like that. And I feel like I can do that in Chicken Run. Our main chickens and roosters look distinct from each other. Our 2 human characters look very distinct from each other. Let's talk about them for a second. Mr. and Mrs. Tweety. I thoroughly enjoy the 2 of them. Mr. Tweety has this, he reminds me a lot of Horace from 101 Dalmatians. Very British, has a similar body type, and is the bumbling oaf who's kind of smarter than the other tall, lanky one. Which I appreciate. He's I think the chickens are... I'm not doing a British accent, and I don't know what voice I was even doing there, so we're just gonna... But he's I think the chickens are, revolting. So do I. I'm glad we agree on something, Mr. Tweety. And he's no, I think they're working together. They're chickens. You're a moron. She has so many good terms. She calls him an oaf. She calls him a lummox. Again, this is a wife being really mean to her husband. That's not okay. But in this context, it's honestly really funny. I do feel bad for the guy, though. And at the end of the movie, Mrs. Tweety gets her comeuppance. And just any time she is on screen, just that evil smile, just that imposing presence. I think she's great. Now, I don't think she's one of the, great animation villains or anything, but I think she's a lot of fun. And I think one of my favorite interactions in the movie is, chickens go in, pies come out. Oh, what kind of pie? Apple. And I love how she doesn't pause. Like, she doesn't kind of give him that look like, what do you think? And it's not like she pauses, contemplates what he says, and then is sarcastic. She's immediately sarcastic. So, in my head, it comes across like, I knew my husband was going to say something really, really stupid, so I was already prepared. And that's really funny to me. Ooh, apple's my favorite. Chicken pies, you fool, or whatever. You fool! I actually very recently watched that Hollywood Squares Gilbert Gottfried thing. It's so funny. Me, Jose, and Clay have just been out of context shouting that to each other. You fool! And I think it's amazing. Anyways, we've had a few tangents. We talked about Gilbert Gottfried and Dragon Ball designs, so let's get back to Chicken Run. Another part of the visuals I really like is just the look of the chicken coop. Like, there's so many good angles of it that I'm like, this is like a POW camp. This is like a concentration camp. And yeah, I get why they want to escape and not just the, we're going to eat you if you don't make your egg quota, and then later we're going to eat you because we want to turn you into pies. Very understandable why they want to escape, don't get me wrong. But just when you look at, like, almost how claustrophobic this place looks, it's something that kind of adds to it. Was there something else? So I think the only other, couple things I'm going to say about the visuals, which I have to kind of put a pin in it for a second because it's something story-related. When it comes to the plot and the characters, I think the movie is fine. I think the characters are pretty one-note, but they're likable and they're charming. I think Babs is her name, the one who's always knitting. She's really funny. I think, like, she has a lot of really good lines. The one I've always remembered from the movie, because I think it was also in the trailers, I don't want to be a pie. I don't like gravy. I'm like, it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh every time. Not always, like, guffawing, but I laugh. I think I know Clay really did not care for the mice. I don't blame him, but I disagree. I found them funny. I enjoyed them, but I get it. Our main romance between Ginger and Rocky feels like it's there because it has to be there. I didn't feel like, man, I really buy their relationship or their chemistry. It's just like, yeah, this is a thing that happens. And like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this. Just like how it ends up being a liar revealed thing. Rocky actually, so they're trying to escape. Several attempts have failed. This rooster ends up falling into the coop. And they're like, hey, he can fly. He can teach us how to fly. Rocky does not know how to fly. He's part of the circus, and his act is he gets shot out of a cannon. We don't exactly know what he's hiding for a lot of the movie, aside from the fact that we actually know he's hiding from the circus, and he tells them that. He does not tell them that I don't know how to fly. But he does tell them, I will teach you everything I know. Which I do appreciate. He doesn't outright lie. But he's very laissez-faire when it comes to the truth. And there's a good scene to that early on as well, when he's getting some stuff from the rats, and they're like, hey, like, the bargain is, I will give you every egg I lay for the next month. And the rats are like, heh, sucker. And like, yeah, I'm a rooster, I don't lay eggs, but they don't need to know. They're like, hey, I'm keeping my end of the deal. Like, your end of the deal is giving them nothing, and hey, they accepted it. That's their prerogative. Like, he's a bastard, don't get me wrong, but I appreciate the cleverness to his bastardry. You magnificent bastard! But like I said, the liar revealed thing, which, it's not a trope I hate. I know a lot of people do, but I've seen it enough times. I know how this shtick goes. It's something I want to either be a little unique, or to really like the characters in conflict so much that it doesn't bother me. How to Train Your Dragon to me is a really good example of that. It's like, I really, really enjoyed what was happening. So even though you're like, okay, we're doing this song and dance, I didn't mind it. Here, it feels very kind of bog standard. Hey, the two of us are bonding, and you've got this thing that you keep wanting to tell me, and every time you want to tell me, I end up saying something first, and then you feel bad, and you don't end up wanting to do it, and then you leave, and you're sad because he left, and we're sad because he left, blah, blah, blah. But, taking the pin out, what I really like about Chicken Run is, at least like when it comes to the liar reveal crap, when they find out, it's Rocky leaves, and he leaves behind the medal that Fowler gave him, which was the rooster, and another little bit of his poster, which is the cannon, showing that, yeah, he doesn't fly, he's shot out of a cannon. Ginger, who's the main hen, her face, when she's taking that slip of paper and approaching the poster to put it on and show everybody, and the faces of everyone after, it is not a look of, he lied to us. I can't believe he lied to us. Oh, stupid, you fool! Like, I can't believe we fell for it. Man, I'm so mad. Now we gotta start from square one. It is this look of desolation. Like, we have no hope. This was our last chance. Not because we spent so much time on this, we neglected other things. That's, we were out of ideas because we had tried everything else. This was the only thing we had left, and it's nothing. It was a lie. We are all going to die. And no one says anything. And I think, to me, that's what makes it stronger. And I mean, like, they end up, being upset a little later, but it lets that moment of hopelessness, it lets the despair really sink in. And I think it makes a very effective moment. And it's like, yeah, the visuals, just the expressions, while just sitting there in the rain. Man, that's a really good moment. And speaking of hopelessness and despair, there's a lot more talk of suicide in this movie than I was expecting. Now, it's not like a big theme in the movie. It's like 3 scenes, and one of them, I think they meant, like, this is suicide! You're like, that doesn't really count, but I guess I'll include it. The very start of the movie, where, they're all lining up, and then Mrs. Tweedy, looks over the hens. All right, this one hasn't laid any eggs. I get to kill it. And she has this smile on her face because she's crazy. One of the hens, like the one that actually hasn't been laying for a few days, she didn't lay any eggs. Why didn't you give her any of yours? She didn't tell me. She didn't tell anybody. It's a very subtle moment, but there is that implication of, yeah, if someone's in trouble, you just kind of talk to each other and they'll help you out because no one wants anyone to die. And she knew that and didn't say anything. And the look on her face is like, she looks very afraid. But I kind of have that feeling of that she's like, yeah, she made her choice. Now, maybe in the last moment she was regretting it. I don't know. It doesn't really go into her character that much. But I'm like, that's interesting. Man, that's dark. And there's another scene. I don't remember. I don't think it's after the liar revealed moment, because I think Rocky was the one who saw this. So I think it's after Ginger's like, we can't fly and you're wasting our time, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of makes everyone else like really sad. Again, Babs, the knitting one, knits a noose. And it was like, I was not expecting that. And that's really dark. I can't lie, though. It's kind of funny with just how, like, over-the-top bleak that is. But damn, was not expecting this from Chicken Run, my guy. But, and so, yeah, I think the visuals are really, really good. I think the writing, like story characters, I think is fine. Very standard, but not bad. The humor and the vibes, I think it's funny. It's not hilarious to me, although there are some moments where I'm like, okay, like, that's pretty funny. It's by no means painful or cringy. At least I did not feel that way. I know Clay, again, was like, yeah, anytime the rats are talking, I just want to hit my head with a tire iron. But hit his head, not my head. But, even still, even like with the really dark moments and themes, it's a very charming film. And I think a lot of that is the art style. A lot of that is just the very pleasant British voices. I enjoy this movie. I don't have as much fun with it as I do with El Dorado. I don't think it's nearly as great as, like, Prince of Egypt. I enjoyed it more than Ants. Although, again, like, I do really like and appreciate Ants' just mean-spiritedness. But I do enjoy Chicken Run. I think, how did I say it to Clay last night? I was like, this is not a movie I would say I thoroughly enjoyed, but it is a movie I certainly enjoyed. Excuse me, I feel like to me, it's a very solid B. So, yeah, that was Dreamworks number 4. That was Chicken Run. The next movie we are not actually going to watch because we watched it pretty recently, but I'll talk about it here in a bit.